Hi guys, my name is Jillian, this is my channel, and today I want to talk about something kind of complicated, and that is life's lack of control. Sorry, I changed the title. And like mortality, I have three sort of sections. The first two are pretty big, and the third one is a little bit smaller. Also, sorry, I'm kind of sick, so if you hear that in my voice, my bad. But the first one is about mortality. The second one is about regrets in the past, and the third one is about things I can't control. And it's about coming to terms with all of those different things. I just wanted to talk about this because I think it's a really interesting topic, and for me, I've struggled a lot with like feeling like out of control of things. That's been really hard for me to come to terms with. So yeah, I'd say let's get started. Also, I have a little like note that I'm reading off of. Okay. So the first section, like I said, is about mortality. So I used to be mortified by the idea of death or the idea of me or a loved one dying. And I guess this just always really like confused me. Like I can't wrap my head around why, because I've just never had a loved one die. But I don't know, like to me that's like a big cause of like a fear of death. But I've never experienced that. So I don't know why, right? And because I don't know why I'm so scared, it's been hard for me to cope with the fear of death, because like in my head, if I have like an understanding of the root cause, if I know the why, then I can like stop it or fix it or like solve it or like just cope with it better. Like I know you can't fix stuff or like stop stuff, but in my head, like if I know why, then I can fix the why. And obviously that's kind of like a flawed understanding, but you know what I mean. But without an understanding of the root cause, I can't find a deeper solution, you know what I mean? And I need to know what's causing the thing to stop the thing that's causing the thing, you know? So without that why, it's been like really hard for me to cope with the fear when it comes up. And I kind of have to cope in like a really surface level and like makeshift way, if that makes sense, just kind of when it happens. But for example, I used to be so scared of dying that I would very delusionally convince myself at night when I was in bed that I was gonna die like right then and there. And it was like overwhelming, like it was a lot. So my solution to this had been radical acceptance, unfortunately. I like to tell myself, I know this is very blunt and like kind of harsh, but it actually really helps me. I tell myself if I die, then I die. And there's like nothing I can do about it. It's kind of out of my control, you know. Mortality is a thing bigger than me, right? And I can't stop death. Stuff like that. I know, like I said, it seems very blunt and harsh, but it's actually really helped. And because it's really helped me calm down, I've stopped getting super anxious about it. I think just because like I've taken away the power of the delusion, you know? So it's like not even worth it for me to think about it anymore. Or like it just doesn't have that power, so it just doesn't come up as much. But I definitely think that mortality has become like less and less of a fear for me. But when it was a big fear, it was just so overwhelming just because of the spontaneousness of it. Like I have no control over when I die. The fear of death, the worst part of it is that it could happen. Like, I could die at any moment. And that's really scary. Like, realistically, I'm probably not going to, right? But I could. That's what's so annoying about a fear of death, is that in a lot of ways it can be reinforced because it's possible. So I feel like trying to be logistical about it and telling myself, like, well, there's not a likely chance that it's gonna happen, it can help, but it's not that helpful. So I've kind of gone the other way. But the radical acceptance route has been really helpful for me. The second section is about regrets in the past. I think the biggest thing for me to come to terms with has been the past and my regrets. I think I've come a long way now, but it's taken a lot of time to get here. And I would honestly say I have no regrets, because while I do regret stuff, I don't think it's worth my time to care about them, if that makes sense. Like, of course I do feel regret, but I try to remind myself that like I can't change the past. I have to live with what I've done and said to people, even if I don't agree with it now. Also, regret is totally normal, and I really don't want anyone to think that I'm like shaming them or anything like that. Like I feel like when I said like I don't regret anything, I feel like I'm coming across as like a day in a life vlogger that's like super unrealistic. Like, trust me, I do regret things, right? But I try to remind myself that, like, it's not worth it, right? It's not productive to worry about the past so much that it just, like, overwhelms you, because realistically, you can't change the past, right? And like, it is helpful to ruminate on things and like reflect on your past actions. Like, I feel like it gives you more self-awareness. It helps you move forward in a like more mature and better way. But there's like a point, right, where it just gets unhealthy or unproductive, and it just becomes something that like isn't helpful anymore. Anyways, still though, I think it can be hard for me to grapple with my past actions. I think I've hurt a lot of people inadvertently or like unintentionally, and that really haunts me. But like I said, there's nothing I can do about it. One thing that really helps me a lot, is telling myself that all I can do is get better. That has been super helpful in just like calming my mind. I try to remind myself to move forward and be better versus ruminating on the past and things I can't control, because that accomplishes nothing for the most part. Obviously, like I said, it's good to ruminate to a certain extent, but past a certain extent, it's not helpful anymore, right? Because I really like the phrase, all I can do better. I think it's so helpful for me. Just, it's a nice reminder. I think it's a neatly packaged way to say, like, there's nothing you can do. Like, it's just a really nice reminder to move forward versus think back. Truly, nothing I can do will change the past. I can't go back and change the past, and even if I could, I don't want to. So just reminding myself that all I can do is be better is so helpful for me. And I don't know if it's going to be helpful for you too, but it really like soothes me, you know? Okay, so the final section is, like I said, pretty short, but things I can't control. I think this relates a lot to like my previous section about regrets in the past, and also about my fear of mortality, but definitely not as much. My life has been filled with various events that were out of my control, but that impacted me tremendously. I know this is basic, but I try to cope with this by focusing on what I can control versus what I can't. I try to think of this a little bit like dieting or eating, because a lot of dietitians say it's a lot more important to focus on adding stuff to your diet that's like beneficial for you versus cutting things out of your diet that you think you shouldn't eat. Because focusing on what you can't do versus focusing on what you can do, when you just focus on what you can't, you're not going to enjoy anything. You're just thinking about what you're missing out on, right? But if you're focusing on like what you can eat, like a good meal that's going to make you feel like happy, right? Then that makes you feel better. Like if you're not thinking about all the stuff that you're like missing out on, you're going to feel so much better. So I try to think about what I can control versus what I can't, because I feel like it just gives me a better sense of control, and also like I feel like it just helps me feel better in general, right? Like I don't feel like all of this stuff is slipping through my fingers that I just can't have any grasp on, and thinking about all the stuff that I can never change, it just makes me feel worse. And I feel like when I think about what is in my control, what I can make better, it's also kind of like I'm concentrating my efforts in one area, in one thing that is actually productive that I can focus on. Like thinking about my personality, right? Like making friends. If I just think about all the things that I hate about myself and all the things that I don't think are like good about myself, then I'm never going to get anywhere. I'm just going to hate myself more, right? I'm just perpetuating the ideas of I suck, right? But if I focus on like being more enjoyable to be around, or like improving my personality, or being a better friend, then I'm going to accomplish the goal of having more friends or having stronger relationships, and I'm doing it productively. Like I'm focusing on what I can control. I'm focusing on improving myself versus focusing on all the stuff that I can't control that I don't like about myself. Like it's not worth it, right? So I feel like it's helpful, but obviously this is extremely hard to do because like as human beings, we just tend to focus on the negative. So I understand, like, absolutely, and again, I don't want to seem like that, like, health and wellness influencer that's like, I wake up at 5 in the morning because it's good for me. It's like, no one's actually doing that. Like, that's really hard to do, right? So it's like, I don't want to seem unrealistic. Like, obviously, this is really hard to do, and I will acknowledge that. But if you can even, like, start to do it, that's really helpful. And, like, trust me, I have a long ways to go. But I think just acknowledging what you can work on, and even just setting a goal is really helpful, because you have a direction to move forward in. So if I set a goal to focus on the things that I can control, I'm probably going to accomplish that goal, versus if I just said be happy, you know? If I have a direction, like if I have a very specific direction, I'm probably more likely to like go in that direction, right? So I think it's just good to acknowledge the things that we can improve and acknowledge the things that are helpful to come to terms with. Like, I know I kind of got off track with the finality, but actually got way off track. My bad, guys. Yeah, no, I think that I just wanted to yap. I think this is just like a really interesting topic, and I feel like it's worthwhile to, like, if you also have trouble with not having control over things, I think it's worthwhile to understand why you struggle so much with it. For me, it's reasons that I won't get into because I don't want to trauma dump online. But for me, I understand my reasons. For you, it might be helpful to understand it too, right? Anyways, I know this has been like a really like all around spontaneous, very like back and forth video, but I just wanted to, discuss, share my thoughts, and if you have something you want to say, I will be happy to hear it. So, thank you for watching. I hope you have a good day or night or whatever, and bye-bye.